Hey guys, welcome to Let's Play Disc Golf's first YouTube video. This is going to be an in the bag, my very first one. Give you guys an in the know of what I throw and how I throw and kind of how I approach the game. So typically with building a bag, I always recommend kind of what everybody else does with the staple of putters, mid-range, fairway, drivers, all in an understable, stable, and overstable slot, and then kind of filling in those gaps throughout those few ranges that you know those unique shots you need. And I think about my game in that traditional golf sense, where everything's based on a distance and where the disc will finish from there. So this way, I can attack a course reliably, knowing okay, I'm about this far away on any hole or given moment, and use that as my benchmark for deciding how I play each hole. So big fan of that method. If you don't do that, I can put out another video with more information about how I've come up with that. But yeah, a lot of field work, and it really, I can trust a disc to do what I need it to do, so it fills that spot. So without further ado, let's kind of get into it. I like to start kind of the more traditional way, which is putters to faster discs. So starting off, I know everyone, if you follow my account, you know that I putt with Wardens, and I have a prime and a classic. The prime is my go-to putter, like anything within probably 40 feet or so. Yeah, probably about 40 feet or so. And then I have a classic blend for throwing, and anything longer than 40 feet. If I need a little bit more stability, this one's a little stiffer, holds the wind a little bit better. But those are my two putters. I tend to not need a second one of my putting ones, but I have a backup for when old trusty here decides it needs to take a break and find its way out somewhere else. Moving on in the putter category, for throwing putters, I currently only have one, and it's a Lucid Warden. It's not glow. I know everyone looks like it's moonshine colored. I thought it was too, but it is not. It's just plain Lucid, and it's very straight. It's just a straight putter. I mean, I can get it to turn, I can get it to hyzer, and I can throw it dead straight. So perfect, reliable putter. I haven't found a need for anything more beat in. I have my classic blend, and anything on that slightly overstable putter, I haven't found a need for it yet. However, I am starting to learn how much I appreciate that. Classic Warden for throwing, and I like the Lucid plastic because of how tacky and gummy it is. It's a theme with a lot of my discs, so I'm not a stiff person. However, with the stiff, for my overstable putter, if you also follow the account, is the Zone. I only have the one ESP Zone in the bag. I have a Z1 ready to go when this one finds its way out due to not being a Zone anymore. But I've had this for a couple years now, and it's still very reliably overstable, at least for what I need. I don't really need anything else. Forehand, backhand, I use it pretty much every disc for both. So yeah, very reliable, and I just love this color. It's like really swirly green kind of seafoam color, and I wipe a lot of stamps on my discs because I like just more simplified stuff. I think it just looks neater, so you'll see that kind of throughout too. But those are my putters. I only carry the 4. Maybe in the future I'll throw more. I'm really not a huge putter fan. I like to throw mids, so I don't have a lot, but if it's a shot that most people maybe throw a putter, I would consider throwing a mid and just having that little bit of touch to it. So it's just more comfortable. It's more comfortable in the hand too, so big fan. Moving on to mids, I'll go understable to overstable for every category, just because I feel like that's just a good way to do it. For my understable mid, the Uplink gyro plastic, specifically the Neutron plastic, is probably my favorite plastic on the market right now. It's super tacky, and I think it's pretty flexible. Can be stiff, but you can get it either way. I throw a mix of MVP lightweight and max weight. This one's max weight, so because it's super understable, I don't need to be more understable. But it's perfect for really slow thrown straight shots, or hard thrown turnovers, or really good hyzer flip, possibly a little drift, whatever you need it for. And like I said, I throw backhand, forehand. I like this for like touch forehand ups shots because it's a little more narrow than like a Warden. So, or in the zone's too overstable, so it's just a nice little touch disc. So, yeah, uplink for understable. I have a Hex as the mid-range, and yes, it has been colored on. I gave my kids some Sharpies for an arts and crafts project and just made it a little bit more personalized for me. Big fan, and I love the pink rim. A lot of my discs you'll see pink, purple, definitely the favorite color in the bag, so a lot of them kind of fit that bill. But Hex has filled that spot. If you haven't seen any of my older content from my account, the Hex is the perfect straight mid-range. It feels the best in the hand. I don't think it feels too sharp. It has that similar profile that a lot of those stable mid-range have. When I first got it, I thought it was going to be too overstable for me, but it was just dead straight. And as it beats in, it's still just dead straight. I found that MVP Axiom plastic takes a while to beat in, and this is one of those examples where I've had it for a while now and hit so many trees, but it's still just dead straight. And yeah, I don't know if I'll ever. I mean, this is that disc, that one disc round. I'll take this, or or if it's over water, I will never throw it. I mean, this is now precious disc along with this uplink. This uplink's been retired because I aced with it, so that's why I have this one in the bag. The kids were there, so the kids got to sign it. That's their signature. Looks just like their signature. So yeah, Hex, big fan. I would definitely consider bagging more. I have a Lizato, the Simon Lizato Hex. It is not overstable enough to kick any of the other discs out of my bag. Otherwise, I would bag a overstable Hex if that was an option as my next disc, which is the Pyro. I have two in the bag. I have straight to fade, and I have all beef. This is your Justice, your MX1 for Prodigy people. The Pyro is, I mean, this thing is a zone with distance, so super reliable for wind and anything. I need a good skip, really good skip disc too. So I like having it in the bag. Don't throw it as much. Or if I need something that pushes with a good spike hyzer, there's a couple of videos of that on the channel, so on the account, so feel free to check that out. But this one I haven't thrown as much on the account, but it is just, it's perfectly straight and then hard finish. So this way I can have that nice, that perfect reliable in the wind or anything. The Hex will just keep going straight with maybe a gentle fade, but this will crash. So I love that. Very reliable. Feels great in the hand. It feels like a Hex, which is why I have the three. They all feel the same, just more. This one's a little bit sharper. The Hex is a little rounder, and then there's the uplink, which is essentially like a putter, super rounded. But those are my mids. Those four cover pretty much anything. Distance-wise, I throw the Hex up to 310. Probably is the max I'll be comfortable with. I would consider disking up depending on what is behind the basket. I can throw a putter 300. I prefer not to, which is why I like the mids. So anything kind of 250 and in easily is a putter shot. Anything above that up to about 315 is more like my mids. So I kind of cover both those distances. Moving on into fairways. By far the trickiest spot in my bag is the understable fairway. I've been for years, essentially now a decade, looking for a disc that does exactly what I want. I need something stupid understable that I can throw on a hyzer and get it to flip up and turn on any given shot. Wind, no wind, that's what I need. But then also be able to throw on a big high hyzer and maybe have it anhyzer and have it flatten out. But I would say that the closest I've come is the Ascend. This is Streamline Neutron plastic. This is pretty stiff for what I'm used to, but it's pretty understable, more stable than what the numbers would suggest. This is like a 6.5, -3. I would say it's more like a -2.1. It has some finish to the end. You can kind of tell by the profile. It's got that little bit of kind of indent in the middle here that I would consider to be a little bit more stable. Like a Maverick is more understable than this. So yeah, but I can get this to flip and turn and all that good stuff, and it does glide forever. The 5 glide is an understatement. This thing is the good beginner disc, perfect beginner disc for someone who's just getting out of that mid-range putter range to throw something fast, understable. Two discs I'm working in to that slot, or at least seeing to replace it: the Virus by Axiom and the Freetail by Mint. I have been loving how this disc feels. A little bit more stiff than I'm used to, but the non-gyro feel makes it a little bit more familiar, but also has that understability. I threw this over 400 out in the field the other day. No wind, and just a huge sky Annie line. You know, not a real golf shot, but super big Annie turnover. And then this disc feels great for forehand specifically, so there's a chance I bag all three. But yeah, just an idea. So yeah, that's my understable fairway slot. So moving on is my stable fairway. These are my babies. These are my Craves. I throw these whenever I need something that I just know is going to go straight and a comfortable distance. I throw Craves. These are my 325, probably to like 340 distance. I mean, I could throw it like 300 to 340 probably is when I would consider these, depending on the hole and the shape. But these do everything. This one is a lighter weight. This is like 165, somewhere in that ballpark, and then this one's max weight. This one holds a very straight line and then finishes pretty nicely, not like gently, but it has that finish. So more reliable in the wind or in the woods when I need something that's not going to turn over on me. I can throw this full power. It's just going to go straight and then finish. This one, however, will, if I throw full power, if I don't put enough hyzer on it, will flip up and turn a little bit and then finish. But otherwise, if I throw it, I don't know, 80%, just dead straight, no finish. It just dead straight. 325, dead straight. It makes woods golf very easy when you have a disc that you can throw dead straight, not full power, and just put it where you want it. Assuming that you obviously line up your shot well, which I've been struggling with. But yeah, these, if you haven't thrown a Crave and you throw FDs or you throw Stalkers or whatever and you beat in a T-Bird, I mean, out of the box, these discs are just the workable fairway that everyone needs. They're a little skinnier in the hand in terms of rim width, because I think they're like a 6.5 or a 6.5 speed. So it is a little noticeable at first, but I like to throw mids. So this kind of is that bridgeway disc that I need to get to from a mid to a fairway, but then give me that fairway distance. I mean, I can throw these really far if I need to, but I have other discs that do that, so I just rely them for what they're made for, essentially, which is just a dead straight shot. Yeah, super reliable. Gotta have them both in the bag. So moving on to, so that was my 7-speed slot. My 9-speed slot is for stable fairway undertakers. I have 2 in the bag. I have a flippy one and a overstable one. I don't think either of them are stable. This one is my throw it on a little bit of hyzer, it'll pop up, turn, and then finish every single time. S-curve, 350. I mean, I've thrown this in the field so many times, and it just lands on 350. It's just where it stops. So I know I have an S-curve disc with a little bit of hyzer in the woods for 350. Can't go wrong with that if you can reliably hit it the same way every single time. In any situation, if I'm not confident about another disc, I can go to that and know that if I throw it that same way, it makes golf easy. So if I'm like, okay, I'm not feeling 480 with some of my distance drivers, I can throw that 350 and just play the hole a little shorter. So just an idea of something that if you don't do right now, I highly recommend. And then this one is newer. Also, it's in the Z plastic, so a little bit more stable. But this specific run, the Z plastic lately have been coming out very stiff, and they've been putting in additives from other plastics to make it a little like swirly or whatever. I think it's too slick, it's too stiff. I hate how it feels in my hand. This is an older run of Z, so it has that like Champion feel to it, where it's a little tackier, a little grippier, way more flexible. I can really dig my hand into it and trust in hot weather, cold weather. I mean, this is reliable, and it's straight to overstable. I cannot get this one to go straight for long, but I can throw it on a nice, a little bit of hyzer. It'll kind of pop up and then hyzer the whole way. So this one's more like 320, but on a solid just hyzer line. And yeah, don't throw this one as much, but especially in the wind, if I need to, I can throw this one like that one in a headwind, and it'll pop up and turn and finish, and it won't go as far, but at least I can get the same flight. So another idea. I know I'm talking fast. Try not to make this a long video. Next is my overstable fairway drivers. I throw Felons. I have two in the bag. I have a Lucid and then the Fusion X Eric Oakley, shout out. This is, from what I've read, the most stable run of Felon. So I don't know if I'll ever need anything overstable again in my life unless I lose this. So always in the bag, windy, skip shots. Great, feels great in forehands because it's so stiff. Very flat compared to my other one. So yeah, perfect. Overstable slot if I need it. This is a little bit different. It's overstable, but not like a typical Felon or how someone else would throw it. This actually fits more of that T-bird slot for me than more of a Felon or Firebird slot. I can throw this similar to my Purple Crave, throw this dead straight, but it has a way harder finish to it. So I like this disc for like pinpoint accuracy because I know it's going to always fade even in the wind because it's that overstable disc. So as it slows down, no matter what plastic or how you beat it in, it's gonna get overstable as it slows down. So being able to control this and throw it different distances on a controlled hyzer finish, that is what I have this disc for. It is that beat in baby disc. I obviously love it, but I wouldn't mind losing it as much as some of my other discs because I can go get another Lucid Felon and throw it against a couple trees and get the same result. Lucid plastic is that grippy, tacky, durable plastic, but if you throw Dynamic or a lot of the other Latitude or Trilogy plastic, it does beat in really quickly. I haven't had this in the bag as long as some of the other discs, but it beat into a perfect slot. So yeah, and also this pink swirly color is probably my favorite color plastic. If I could get every disc to look like this, that would make me happy just to look at my bag. That's another reason this kind of makes the bag, is the Felon being such a fast disc, overstable. It does feel very good in the forehand, so I can throw that straight 300 foot if I push it 300 foot. I'm not a good forehand player, but if I need it, I can try. And that's fairways. That covers kind of that whole slot. Like I said, I throw those all, pretty much every single one of those forehand, backhand. Some feel better than others, but moving on to distance drivers. I carry two molds for distance drivers. I have a slower, they're both the same speed actually, but I have different molds. So first is my Graces. I carry two. I have a regular Royal Plastic and then the Orbit. This one's obviously more understable than the Kristen Tatar one. The Royal one is S-turn, sometimes a big Annie with a little bit of finish. It's not as beat in as I want it to be yet, but it's getting there. A little pop toppy. A couple of these are going to be pop. I like pop toppy drivers. I don't really throw these on forehands, but these Graces feel better than most of my other old distance drivers did. And I personally think 11 speeds is probably the max my arm needs. I could probably throw a Destroyer a little bit further, but I wouldn't need it for anything. There's not enough courses out here that would require me to that extra 20 feet or whatever I could get out of a Destroyer. I just don't need it, and so I choose to throw something that feels better in my hand, more controlled, and I feel it's a little bit easier to get a hold of. These are impossible to get a hold of, but I have them, and they feel better than every other driver I've had. So yeah, big fan of the Grace, and I think it's that perfect kind of beat-in version of my other disc, that other mold that fills that more understable version of my mold. So I throw this one more than I throw this one, but this one has that overstability in the wind that if I don't feel comfortable, at least I have this one to fight it out a little bit more. And very, very pop toppy. So definitely fights the wind a little bit harder and so on and so forth. I mean, like, look at that. It just suctioned the other one. Like, that's how domey it is. Next is Wraiths. I carry 3. I only throw really 1, but I carry 3. I have this old beat up. It's actually like a Garrett Girthy stamp, bottom stamp, Garrett Girthy bottom stamp, beat up Star Wraith. I found it in a used bin. It is perfectly beat in. It is got a very strong turn, but still finishes. I probably would say if I have at any given moment a hole where I need to throw straight 350 plus easy, I can throw this one and it'll fight even most winds. So it's still very wraithy. Also, this one feels the best for forehand because it is a little bit flatter of a run. But yeah, just that beat-in Star Wraith. I mean, it kind of really reliable disc, more overstable than both of my other graces, but not quite understable, not quite as overstable as these other two I'm about to talk about. Which leads me into my two overstable wraiths. I have a champion and a star for different feels depending on the wind. They are both ridiculously overstable. I cannot get either of them to turn. One is the champion. It's a lightweight. I got it because it's thinking the lightweight would counteract and I could get it a little bit more turn out of it, but it is still just it's 171 meat hook. Probably in the wind this one wouldn't hold up as much, but yeah, I mean, Domi, you can hear it, Domi heartbeaty, distance driver, and very new still. I've thrown it handfuls of times and it goes straight and finishes. So with my arm speed, I can get it to at least go straight if I throw it flat, and then it'll finish. So unlike a little bit of Annie, maybe it'll hold and then finish, but I would just throw something that flips. Or maybe not, I don't know. Depends on the day. And then last but not least is my star pop top. I mean, this is the most domey pop toppy wraith. I've heard from people that in the star plastic, if you get it this domey, where it never beats in to be a flippy wraith, which is perfect. This way I can throw this one for almost ever and always rely on it to be overstable. So that's kind of why I have it in the bag. I hate this color. I hate green. I love my pinks. But this is by far the most overstable, but also I can get it to at least go straight for a little bit before it starts to dump. Perfect for the wind. I've thrown it in a headwind before and it just goes straight a little bit longer and then finishes. So I can get at least my 350 out of it if I need to on a really windy day. Well, not really windy, but a windy day for at least up here in Wisconsin. Yeah, those are my discs. I'm carrying the Dynamic Paratrooper bag, brand new from last season, end of last season. I got a little bit of a deal, so no big deal from me. I carry a couple towels, minis. Outside of that, really nothing special, nothing fun. But those are my discs. I hope you enjoyed the first video and looking forward to getting out some more rounds and coverage with these specifically in the next couple weeks. So plan to try to do a video a month, hopefully, for the summer at least, and maybe film enough to have one for the winter as well. Got a couple of challenges lined up with a couple fun plastics and discs lined up for some unique rounds. And yeah, hopefully you can like, comment, subscribe, all the stuff all the other YouTubers say, and looking forward to getting you guys more disc golf content. Thanks, and let's play disc golf.